My name is Kinsley Reed. I'm 29. Last Monday at 3:47 a.m., I was standing in Bay 4 of County General's ER, my hands inside a 17-year-old's chest cavity doing CPR compressions, when my phone buzzed 17 times in a row. I couldn't check it. The kid was coding. But I knew, the way you know when lightning's about to strike, that something terrible had happened. When we finally got him stabilized at 4:23 a.m., I pulled off my gloves and checked my messages. 15 were from my sister Reese. One was from her husband Garrett. One was from a lawyer I'd never heard of. The lawyer's message was simple. Ms. Reed, this is Donald Voss from Voss and Associates. Your sister has filed an adverse possession claim on the property at 847 Harmon Street. You have 72 hours to vacate the premises or face legal action. Please contact my office immediately. My hands went numb. 847 Harmon Street was Reed's kitchen, my aunt's restaurant. The restaurant she'd left to me when she died 18 months ago. The restaurant I'd been running every moment I wasn't at the hospital. The restaurant valued at $580,000. That was the only thing I had left of the woman who raised me. I called Reese. She answered on the first ring, her voice bright and sharp like broken glass. Oh good, you got the message. Kinsley, don't make this harder than it has to be. The restaurant's ours now. Garrett and I have been running it for the past year while you were too busy playing nurse. We have proof we've been the primary operators. The title records were never updated after Aunt Claire died. We filed the claim. It's done. Pack your things and get out by Thursday. Reese, I said, my voice shaking. Aunt Claire left the restaurant to me. You know that. You were at the will reading. A will isn't a title deed, Kinsley. She said my name like it tasted bad. And the title's still in Aunt Claire's name, which means it's up for grabs under adverse possession law. We've been operating the business exclusively for 12 months. We filed the paperwork. The property is ours. You can fight it if you want, but we both know you can't afford a lawyer on a nurse's salary. So why don't you do what you're good at? Give up quietly and let the winners win. You're my sister, I whispered. And you're in my way, she said, and hung up. I stood in the ER hallway, still in my scrubs, blood on my shoes from the kid in Bay 4, and I felt something crack inside my chest that wasn't my ribs. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me take you back 13 years to the summer I turned 16. My sister Reese was 20, beautiful, sharp-tongued, and our parents' entire world. I was the quiet one, the forgettable one, the one who got good grades and never caused trouble. When our parents died in a car accident that June, head-on collision on Route 9, dead before the ambulance arrived, Reese inherited their house and their savings. I inherited grief and a bedroom at our Aunt Claire's apartment above her restaurant. Aunt Claire owned Reed's Kitchen, a breakfast and lunch place on Harmon Street that had been in our family for 40 years. She was 63, childless, and had hands that always smelled like cinnamon from the apple pie she made fresh every morning. The day I moved in, she sat me down at the kitchen table, scarred wood, wobbly left leg, 2 coffee mugs that said "Kiss the Cook," and said, "Kinsley Bird, I know you're hurting. I know you think the world ended. But here's what I need you to understand. Some people are born into love, and some people have to build it themselves. Your parents loved Reese because she was easy to love, loud and bright and magnetic, but you and me? We're the builders, and builders always have a home." I cried into her shoulder while she stroked my hair and hummed a song I didn't know the words to. For the next 8 years, I lived above that restaurant. I worked the morning shift before school, washing dishes and prepping vegetables. Aunt Claire taught me her recipes: the buttermilk pancakes, the corned beef hash, the apple pie that made grown men cry. She paid for my nursing school tuition. She showed up at my graduation when Reese didn't. She was at every shift change, every late night when I came home exhausted from clinicals, with hot tea and shortbread cookies waiting. "You're going to do something important with your life, Kinsley Bird," she'd say. "You're going to save people. That's what builders do." When she got diagnosed with lung cancer 3 years ago, I was the one who took her to chemo. I was the one who held her hair back when she vomited. I was the one who slept on a cot next to her hospital bed during the bad weeks. Reese visited twice. Once to ask for money. Once to complain that Aunt Claire's illness was inconvenient because it interfered with her vacation plans. 2 weeks before Aunt Claire died, she called me into her bedroom. The afternoon light was honey gold through the curtains. She looked so small in that big bed, her skin paper thin, her eyes still sharp. "The restaurant's yours," she said. "I already updated my will. Harold Brennan has all the paperwork. He's my lawyer. His office is on Sycamore Avenue, 3rd floor. The business, the building, everything. I wanted to deed it to you while I was alive, but I was too sick to make it to the county office. Harold says the will is binding. The restaurant's yours, Kinsley. Don't let anyone take it from you." "Aunt Claire." "Promise me," she said, gripping my hand with surprising strength. "Promise me you'll fight if someone tries. Promise me you won't let Reese bully you into giving up what's yours. I know my niece. I know she'll come sniffing around when she finds out what I left you. Promise me." "I promise," I said. She smiled. "That's my builder." She died 3 days later, and the last thing she ever said to me was, "You were always the one I loved most, Kinsley Bird. Always." The will reading happened a week after the funeral. Reese showed up in designer sunglasses and a black dress that probably cost more than my rent. When Harold read the part about the restaurant going to me, the building, the business, all assets and inventory, Reese's face went hard. "That's not fair," she said. "I'm the oldest. I should get half at least." "Ms. Monroe," Harold said carefully, "your aunt was very clear. The restaurant goes to Kinsley. You're receiving a cash bequest of $15,000 and your aunt's jewelry collection." "$15,000? Reese's voice went high and sharp. "That restaurant's worth over $500,000. You're telling me I get $15,000 while Kinsley gets everything?" "That's correct," Harold said. Reese turned to look at me. Her eyes were cold and calculating. "You must be so proud of yourself, playing the devoted niece while the rest of us had lives, manipulating a dying woman." "I didn't manipulate anyone," I said quietly. "I loved her." "You loved her money," Reese spat. "But don't get comfortable, little sister. Nothing's final until the deed gets transferred. And a lot can happen before then." She walked out, her heels clicking on the hardwood like warning shots. I should have listened to that warning. For 18 months, I ran Reed's kitchen. I worked my shifts, 12-hour nights 3 times a week, and then I'd go straight to the restaurant and help with the morning rush. I hired a manager named Tom to handle the day-to-day operations. The business thrived. We added weekend brunch. We got written up in the local food magazine. We had lines out the door on Saturday mornings. Reese came by once a month or so, always with Garrett, always wanting to help. She'd work a shift, chat with customers, act like she was part of the operation. I thought she was trying to reconnect. I thought maybe losing Aunt Claire had softened her. I was wrong. What I didn't know was that Reese had a gambling problem. What I didn't know was that she and Garrett owed $200,000 to various casinos. What I didn't know was that they'd been planning to steal my restaurant for over a year. The first sign of trouble came 6 months ago. I got a call from Tom, the manager. "Kinsley, did you authorize Reese to change the locks on the restaurant?" "What? No, why would she?" "She's here right now with a locksmith. She's saying the restaurant is hers now. She has some kind of legal document." I drove to Harmon Street at 80 miles an hour. When I got there, Reese was standing in front of Reed's kitchen with new keys in her hand and a smile on her face. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Protecting my investment," she said. "I've been working here unpaid for months, Kinsley. That makes me a partner. And as a partner, I have a right to secure the property." "You're not a partner. This is my restaurant." "Is it?" She tilted her head. "Because according to the county records, the title is still in Aunt Claire's name. You never transferred it, which means legally, It's in probate limbo. And I've been the primary operator for the past 6 months. I have witnesses. I have documentation. I have a lawyer who says I have a very strong adverse possession claim. My stomach dropped. Reese, you can't. I can, and I am. You're always at the hospital, Kinsley. You're never here. You don't have time to run a restaurant. But Garrett and I do. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign over your interest in the property, or we're going to file the adverse possession claim and take it anyway. Your choice. I'll fight you, I said. She laughed. With what money? You're a nurse, Kinsley. You make what? 60,000 a year? A lawyer will cost you 50,000 just to start. Do the math. You can't win. So why don't you be smart for once in your life and just walk away? It's what you're good at anyway, walking away and letting the strong people win. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her and shake her. But I was standing in front of my restaurant with customers watching through the windows, and I couldn't fall apart. Not here. Not now. Get out of my restaurant, I said, my voice low and steady, even though my hands were shaking. Your restaurant? Reese smiled. Kinsley, honey, it stopped being your restaurant the moment you were too weak to hold on to it. She walked inside and locked the door behind her. I sat in my car for 37 minutes before I could drive. That night, I called Harold Brennan, Aunt Claire's lawyer. He was 78 and mostly retired, but he agreed to look at my case. The will is valid, he said after reviewing everything. But Reese is right about one thing. You never transferred the title. That's a problem. If she can prove she's been operating the business as the primary manager for a year, she might have a case for adverse possession. It's a long shot, but it's possible. What do I do? I asked. Get your own lawyer, Harold said. A good one. This is going to cost you, Kinsley, probably more than you can afford. He was right. I couldn't afford it. I had $12,000 in savings. A decent lawyer wanted a $50,000 retainer. So I did what I had to do. I kept working. I kept showing up at the hospital for my shifts. I kept trying to access the restaurant when Reese wasn't there. And I kept getting shut out. Reese and Garrett took over completely. They changed the menu. They fired Tom. They told customers I'd sold them the business. They spread rumors that I was unstable, that I'd been stealing from Aunt Claire, that I'd tried to forge the will. None of it was true. All of it spread. 3 months ago, Reese showed up at the hospital during my shift. It was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was in the break room eating a sandwich, still in my scrubs, when she walked in like she owned the place. She was wearing expensive jeans and carrying a designer bag. Behind her, I could see 3 other nurses watching through the doorway. Kinsley, she said brightly, we need to talk about Thursday. I'm working, Reese. You need to leave. This will just take a minute. She sat down across from me, uninvited. Garrett and I are meeting with a buyer for the restaurant on Thursday. Someone's offering us $560,000. We're accepting. The sale closes in 30 days. After that, the restaurant's gone, and you'll have nothing to fight about. So I'm giving you one last chance. Sign the release form, walk away with $50,000, and we can all move on. Or don't sign, we sell anyway, and you get nothing. Your choice. My hands clenched around my sandwich. You can't sell it, it's not yours. The courts will decide that, Reese said. But by the time they do, the sale will be final. You'll spend years fighting a case you can't win, and in the end, you'll still have nothing. Is that really what you want? Is your pride worth that much? Dr. Morrison had walked past the doorway. Nurse Jackie was pretending to check her phone. Everyone was listening. I want, I said carefully, what Aunt Claire wanted, which was for me to have the restaurant. Reese leaned forward. Aunt Claire's dead, Kinsley. She doesn't get a vote anymore. And frankly, she was an old woman who made bad decisions. She chose you because you were her little charity project, not because you deserved it. You were always the pathetic one. The one who needed saving. Well, guess what? No one's coming to save you now. You're on your own. So either take the $50,000 and walk away like a smart person, or watch us sell the place out from under you and get nothing. Those are your only options. Something inside me went quiet and cold. Not angry, not hurt, just quiet. "Get out of my break room," I said. "Kinsley, now!" She stood up, smoothing her jeans. "You're making a mistake. But that's what you do, isn't it? Make mistakes and expect other people to fix them. Well, not this time. This time, you lose." She walked out, and I heard her heels clicking down the hallway, getting fainter and fainter until they disappeared completely. Dr. Morrison stuck his head in. "You okay, Reed?" "Fine," I said. "I'm fine." But I wasn't fine. I was drowning. That night, I went home to my apartment and pulled out the box of Aunt Claire's things I'd saved after she died. Photos, recipes written in her handwriting, a coffee mug that said "Kiss the Cook," and at the bottom, a sealed envelope with my name on it. I'd never opened it. Aunt Claire had given it to me a week before she died and said, "Don't open this unless you really need it, Kinsley Bird. You'll know when." I opened it. Inside was a letter and a key. The letter read, "My dearest Kinsley Bird, if you're reading this, then something's gone wrong. Reese has tried to take the restaurant from you. I knew she would. I've known my niece for 43 years, and I know what greed looks like. I'm sorry I didn't transfer the title before I died. I was too sick, and I ran out of time. But I didn't leave you defenseless. 2 years ago, when I first got diagnosed, I hired a private investigator named Marcus Chen. I had him document everything about the restaurant, the operations, the finances, who actually worked there. I had him document Reese's gambling debts, her lies, her manipulations. I recorded conversations with her where she admitted she was only being nice to me to get the restaurant. I have proof, Kinsley. Proof that she's lying. Proof that you're the rightful owner. The key is for a safety deposit box at First Union Bank, box number 831. Inside, you'll find the original title deed in my name, a signed and notarized letter of intent transferring ownership to you, Marcus Chen's investigation report, 6 months of surveillance, audio recordings of Reese admitting she planned to steal the restaurant, financial records showing you paid for 90% of the restaurant's operating costs, witness statements from 12 employees testifying that you were the true operator. I also left $50,000 in a trust account with Harold Brennan. It's for legal fees. Use it to fight. Don't show anyone these documents until you're ready to use them. Not Reese, not Garrett, not even well-meaning friends. Wait for the right moment. Marcus Chen is still watching. He'll know when. You are not the pathetic one, Kinsley. You are not the charity project. You are my daughter in every way that matters, and you deserve everything I left you. Don't let her win. Please don't let her win. All my love, Aunt Claire. P.S. Marcus Chen's number is 555-0147. Call him. He's been waiting. I read the letter 4 times before my hands stopped shaking. Then I called Marcus Chen. He answered on the second ring. "Ms. Reed, I was wondering when you'd call." "You knew?" I asked. "You knew what Reese was doing?" "I've been documenting everything for 18 months, Marcus said. "Per your aunt's instructions. She told me to wait until your sister made her move, then give you everything you need to fight back. And now she's made her move. So here's what we're going to do." Over the next week, Marcus and I built a case. He gave me his full investigation report, surveillance photos of Reese at casinos, credit card statements showing $200,000 in gambling debts, recordings of phone calls where she and Garrett discussed getting rid of Kinsley. He had proof that I'd been paying the restaurant's bills, proof that Reese had lied about her involvement, proof that the adverse possession claim was fraudulent. I also had something else, my ER schedule. Because Reese's adverse possession claim rested on one key lie, that she'd been the primary operator of the restaurant for 12 months. But I had hospital badge swipe records proving I'd been at work during the hours she claimed she was running the restaurant. I had shift logs signed by my supervisor. I had patient charts with my signature. I had witness testimony from Dr. Morrison and 15 other hospital staff members. The dates didn't match. She'd been lying about when she was at the restaurant, and I could prove it. When do we use this? I asked Marcus. Soon, he said. Very soon. The opportunity came 2 weeks later. My Uncle Bernard, Aunt Claire's brother, died unexpectedly. Heart attack, 72 years old. The funeral was scheduled for Saturday at 2 p.m. at Riverside Chapel. Reese and Garrett would be there. The whole family would be there. 47 people, from cousins I barely knew to Aunt Claire's elderly friends from church. Marcus looked at me. This is it, he said. This is your moment. Your aunt wanted the truth to come out in front of the family. She wanted everyone to see what Reese did. Are you ready? I thought about it for a long time. Then I said yes. The funeral was held in the main chapel, wood pews, stained glass windows, soft organ music playing. Uncle Bernard's casket sat at the front, covered in white lilies. 47 people filled the rows. Reese and Garrett sat in the second row, dressed in black, looking appropriately sad. I sat in the back with Marcus and Harold Brennan. After the eulogy, after the hymns, after the pastor had said his final words, there was a moment of open sharing. If anyone would like to say a few words about Bernard, the pastor said, please come forward. I stood up. Reese saw me and her face went tight. I walked to the front of the chapel and turned to face the congregation. My name is Kinsley Reed, I said. I'm Bernard's niece. And before I talk about him, I need to talk about something that's been happening in this family. Something that involves my sister Reese and the restaurant our Aunt Claire left me. Reese stood up. Kinsley, this isn't the time. Sit down, I said calmly. Or I'll have Marcus Chen, the private investigator in the back row, hand these documents to the police instead of reading them here. Reese sat down slowly. I pulled out the folder. 18 months ago, Aunt Claire died and left me Reed's kitchen. 3 months ago, my sister Reese filed an adverse possession claim, saying she'd been operating the restaurant for a year and therefore it should be hers. She said I was never there. She said I abandoned it. She said I didn't deserve it. I opened the folder. But my aunt knew Reese would try this. So she hired Marcus Chen to document everything. And here's what he found. First, Reese has $200,000 in gambling debts across 4 casinos. She needed money desperately. The restaurant was the easiest target. Second, Reese recorded phone conversations where she and her husband Garrett discussed getting rid of Kinsley and taking what should have been ours from the start. Third, Reese claimed she operated the restaurant exclusively from January through December of last year. But I have my ER shift logs. I have badge swipe records. I have patient charts I signed. On March 15th, Reese claimed she was at the restaurant from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I was in the ER from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., treating a car accident victim. Dr. Morrison witnessed it, so did 12 nurses. My badge swiped in at 6:47 a.m. and swiped out at 7:23 p.m. On June 8th, Reese claims she worked the restaurant all day. I was at the hospital from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m., doing a double shift during a mass casualty event. Hospital security cameras prove it. She lied about all of it, about working there, about me abandoning it, about everything. The chapel was dead silent. Reese's face had gone from red to white to gray. Garrett was staring at his hands. I'm not here for revenge, I said. I'm here for truth. Aunt Claire knew Reese would try to steal from me. She prepared for it. She documented everything. And now everyone knows. I looked at Reese. The adverse possession claim is fraudulent. These documents prove it. Harold Brennan has already filed a formal challenge with the court. The restaurant is mine. It was always mine. And you're going to sign the release papers, Reese, or you're going to face criminal fraud charges. Your choice. Reese stood up, trembling. You can't. This is what happens when you lie, I said quietly. You told me I was pathetic. You told me no one was coming to save me. But Aunt Claire saved me. Even after she died, she saved me. Because she knew what you were. She knew you'd do this. And she loved me enough to stop you. Cousin Marie gasped. Aunt Helen whispered, "I can't believe this." Uncle Tom stood up and walked out, shaking his head. "I gave you everything," Reese shouted suddenly, all pretense of composure gone. "I let you stay with Aunt Claire when our parents died. I could have fought for you. I could have made you live with me, but I let her take you because I was being generous." "You let her take me because you didn't want me," I said. "You wanted the inheritance money. Aunt Claire took me because she loved me. There's a difference." Harold stood up from his seat in the back. "Ms. Monroe, I have the release papers here. You can sign them now, or I can file the fraud charges on Monday. Choose." Garrett grabbed Reese's arm. "Sign it," he hissed. "Sign it, before this gets worse." Reese looked around the chapel, at 47 faces staring at her with shock, disgust, pity. At family members she'd manipulated. At people who'd believed her lies. At the truth sitting there in black and white. "I," she started. Then her voice broke. "I needed the money. The debts were. We were going to lose everything. So you tried to steal from me," I said. "From your own sister. From the one person who never did anything to hurt you." Reese started crying. Ugly, desperate sobs. Garrett was crying too, his face in his hands. Harold brought the papers forward. Reese signed with shaking hands, her signature barely legible. When she finished, I took the papers. I looked at her one last time. This woman who'd tormented me my whole life, who'd tried to take the one thing I had left of the person who loved me. "I don't forgive you," I said. "But I don't hate you either. I just don't want you in my life anymore. Goodbye, Reese." I walked out of the chapel. Behind me I could hear the whispers starting, the family fracturing, the truth spreading like wildfire. I didn't look back. 3 days later, the title to Reed's Kitchen was officially transferred to my name. Reese and Garrett signed over all claims. The restaurant was mine, legally and permanently. I heard through cousins that Reese and Garrett divorced 4 months later, that she declared bankruptcy, that she moved to another state and started over. I didn't feel sorry for her. I didn't feel triumphant either. I just felt tired. I went to Aunt Claire's grave on a cold morning in October, carrying apple pie I'd made from her recipe. "You were right about everything," I said to the headstone, "about Reese, about the restaurant, about fighting. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for seeing me when no one else did. Thank you for loving me like I mattered." I left the pie on her grave and went home. A year later, my life looked like this. Reed's Kitchen was thriving. I'd expanded to dinner service. I'd hired back Tom as general manager. I still worked my ER shifts 3 nights a week. I loved nursing, loved saving lives, loved being a builder like Aunt Claire said. The restaurant had won 3 local awards. There were lines out the door every weekend. I'd put Aunt Claire's photo on the wall behind the counter, her smiling in her apron, holding a pie, looking exactly like I remembered. I never heard from Reese again. The family split. Some people reached out to apologize for believing her lies. Some stayed loyal to her out of misplaced sympathy. I didn't care either way. I built my own family from the people who mattered. One morning, I was making apple pie in the restaurant kitchen when I realized I was humming the same song Aunt Claire used to hum. I didn't know the words. I didn't need to. It was enough just to remember. If you're watching this and someone's tried to take what's yours by making you believe you don't deserve it, type, "I deserve it" in the comments. Or if you're still learning to believe that about yourself, type, "I'm learning my worth." Both are victories. Both are brave. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. And remember, you don't need to be the loudest voice in the room to be heard. You just need to be the one telling the truth.